Good evening. Welcome to the March 11th, 2024 Select Board meeting. I'll ask for a roll call at this time.
Frank West here.
Lily Maselli here.
Greg Bendel's here.
And Garrett Palmer is here. I'll ask everyone to raise for the Pledge of Allegiance of the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for
which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next up will be the transmitting of treasury warrants. Treasury warrant 2435, 2435W, 2435T, 2435S, 2436, 2436W, and 2436T. Do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Approved. Next up is the approval of minutes from February 26th of this year.
So moved.
All those in favor? Approved. And the next is a 7 o'clock appointment. Devin Howe from Beals Associate on behalf of Ask Group LLC, a public hearing for a permit to remove earth from properties located at 250 Andover Street. I will open up the hearing, the public hearing.
I move to open the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Good evening, Mr. Howe. How are you?
Good evening.
Good evening. Devin Howe from Beals Associates, as the chair said, representing the owner and applicant, Ask Group LLC. If it's okay, I have a brief presentation to give to the board.
Be my guest.
So the site we're here requesting an earth removal permit for is located at 250 Andover Street. It's shown by this yellow box right here. To give the board some orientation, north is generally towards me, off to the right side of the sheet. It's located off Andover Street at the intersection with Johnston Road. It's about a half mile from Route 125 and about another half mile to the interchanges with I-93. So it's about a mile from the interstate highway. Sometimes I do.
Yeah. You need a hand?
You need another
Not
hand.
tonight. So it's about a 4.1 acre property, still oriented north, generally towards me, just giving a more zoomed in view on the property. So it's 4.1 acres, like I said, at the intersection of Johnston Road and Andover Street. It features a two-story existing building with parking located around the building. There's two loading docks, one on the eastern side of the building. That sits about 10 feet lower than the west side where there's another loading dock. So it's kind of a split level building with two active and different tenants within the building. It's bordered on all sides by industrial and commercial properties. You can see I've labeled some various users in this general area. Across the street, There is a drainage ditch, and, associated, wetlands. We're greater than, 100 feet, from those wetlands, so we did not need, a permit from the Conservation Commission. I should say that we did receive planning board approval for site plan review, as well as a.
PW.
The stormwater management. I make that same mistake. So what we're proposing, and the reason why we're requesting an earth removal permit, is, we're looking to construct about a 6,000 square foot building addition. The tenant on the, bottom of this building has the need to, expand, their manufacturing, down there. So, as I mentioned, there's a loading dock here. We're proposing to keep that in the same location. But I mentioned that elevation difference between the first story of the building and the second story. So as they construct this building addition, it's going more or less through, what would be the ground towards the second story. So instead of being that split level, it would be a constant elevation from here to the backside. So this backside would be about 10 feet buried by the time you're driving around this side of the building. Parking and loading areas generally are staying in the same elevation. It's really just the building expansion that is removing that material. We are also, as part of this project, it's an older building, not ADA compliant, so we'd be looking at also bringing this up to ADA compliance and code. We'll be constructing, there is no ramp down here currently, it's just up to the building, but we'd be installing constructing a ramp to this entrance, as well as reconstructing the one up here, reusing some of the fill material from once excavated for that. Really, that's all I have for a presentation. Happy to answer any questions the board may have.
So basically, you're moving the earth for construction and to bring it, regrade that side of the building, correct?
Yeah, yes, and it's about 1,000 yards of material that we're looking to remove.
And the hours of operation on,
For construction,
for the earth moving especially right now?
so I believe there were standard conditions.
Just want to
It's
confirm.
number 6 on here. Mr. Chair, it's Monday through Friday, not earlier than 7 and not later than 3:30.
So I guess the answer to your question would be those were the hours that we were looking to have earth removal.
Any questions from the board?
I just have a quick question. Where will the earth be taken to the builder's property or?
So it hasn't been decided yet. If there's a need, either in town or up 93, at the time construction starts, that would really determine the exact route it would take.
Okay.
Just the natural location of this site, being where it is. This is really residential in this area. I
Right.
wouldn't expect it to come this way. It'd be more expected that it would go to, down Route 125 and 93, wherever,
Okay.
a need is for it.
Great. And one more question, sorry. Any rock crushing or blasting expected, anything like
I
that?
don't believe any is anticipated at this time.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay.
Hi, good evening. I was just curious, is this going to be, the addition going to be manufacturing or office space? I was just curious.
So it'd be manufacturing for, Shunk is the tenant in the downstairs of the building. And they are the tenant that'd be looking at expanding their use within that building.
Okay, thank you.
There is, as part of this, the loading dock for the second story, we are looking at keeping that second loading dock, just reorganizing it on the face of the building to just give that flexibility in the future as well.
Okay, thank you. I was just curious. Thank you very much.
Other questions?
Mr. Chair, if I may, as Mr. Howe stated, they did get approval letters from the planning board and DPW, and the assessor said they're all paid up on
Mr. Chairman, do we close the public hearing at this point, or?
the taxes. No, 1 second, I'm sorry. Do you have the green cards from the notification? I'm sorry. Ooh, thank you.
No other questions? I'll ask for the hearing to be closed, the public hearing to be closed.
Mr. Chair,
We could have-
do you want to see if anybody in the public has
Oh, I
any questions?
apologize. Does anyone have anything to say regarding this?
No?
Thank you very much. Now I will entertain closing the public hearing.
Make a motion to close the public hearing?
Second?
All those in favor? And it is approved. Now, wait a minute.
There's no board to
No.
consider? No.
No.
That's it.
Well, this board has no issues with it.
Entertain a motion to,
Yeah, I'll entertain a motion to accept.
Mr. Chair, I move that we grant the request.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have
Request
a
has
good
been
night.
accepted.
Good luck.
Our 7:10 appointment. We're going to be discussing the town meeting warrant.
Mr. Chair, if I may, there were some changes from the draft one. The purchase of, the Capital Equipment Department of Public Works has got the removal of purchase of a one heavy-duty mini-wing mower to be assigned to the Parks and Grounds Division. As you know, the Finance Committee approved it from this year's budget so they could order it in a timely manner. Article 18, electronic control weapons, the tasers were removed from the capital because they are in the operating budget, police department. Article 30 is, Article 29 is the final street acceptance description of Green Meadows. So if you go down to, the articles have now just been renumbered.
Yep.
Article 31 is now 30, 32 is now 31. Everything else is as written in the, that was in your packet.
And Mr. Chair, I noticed that the overlay of the district is more defined of the MBTA communities. There's a lot more.
Yes, sir, Mr.
that
Kyra,
as
there was
well.
a little change of plans from the state, and Valerie and her staff did an amazing job in getting it to what you see now.
Yeah.
Like 8 pages long, 10, 12 pages long. But needed.
It's been a very difficult process to go through,
Yes.
and I commend Valerie Kindrich on her dedication to this,
Yes, sir.
and all her staff.
And that is board to consider 6 if you would like to go
Yep,
along.
now
with
we'll go
that.
to board consider, number 6, closing and signing the warrant for the annual town meeting.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to close and sign the warrant for annual town meeting.
Second?
All those in favor? It's approved. We will sign the warrant.
And we will have some signatures after the meeting, if you don't mind.
Thank you. Now, our 7:20, which will be, the board, we'd like to discuss the town manager's interview process. As you know, the town manager, temporary town manager, and I have had lots of discussions with the consulting firm, and what we'd like to do is, they will actually conduct the interviews on each night. And
Wait,
If, pardon me?
I'm sorry, I was skipping ahead, my fault. My apologies.
And if we want to add to a question, elaborate on a question, we will have the right to do so, or ask any other questions.
Mr. Chair, if I may, as you know, the first two interviews will be tomorrow night, and then Wednesday night is the second two. And what's going to happen with WCTV, and we thank them for their continued support of us in the town of Wilmington, they will be filming tomorrow night's town manager interviews, but they will not be airing them live. The Wednesday night meeting will be broadcast live, and the Tuesday night meeting will air shortly after. We feel that this way is the best for all candidates as to not give an unfair advantage to them. And we're hoping that they will run them during the week a couple times before next Monday's meeting, where you will vote on a new candidate. And just a little programming note from WCTV, Wednesday's meeting and the broadcast of Tuesday's meeting directly after will air on their access channel Comcast 6 and Verizon 39, because the regular school committee meeting is on the meeting channel on Wednesday.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair, if I may, as far as questions, will the consultants also be reading the questions that came through from the town residents?
Yes, they will.
Okay.
They will be, if I may, Mr. Chair, they will be incorporating them in. A lot of them have already been asked on the list of the questions that they'll be asking, them, so a lot of them have already been incorporated in
Great.
those anyway.
Great.
Yep.
Any other questions pertaining to this?
Mr. Chair, how many questions are you anticipating
What was
them
it?
to ask? Because I believe that there were some 35 or 40 questions from the residents,
Yeah.
just from your asking this past Friday, and I think if we, it's kind of, I don't know how fair we're talking. I certainly don't want them here for 5 hours each.
If I may, Mr. Chair, I don't have the number of the original questions, but if you did look at the questions that you were given and the ones that have come in, some of them are already in line for what John Petron will be asking from Paradigm. If that answers your question. There are a few
Yeah,
coming in.
And I noticed on the agenda, I'm a little hesitant on the timing of it. We're supposed to be here at 6, and the interviews start at 6. And tonight, we didn't start the meeting until almost 7:15, because you do the Pledge of Allegiance and the welcome and everything else. So I don't know why there wasn't a 15-minute delay there. And then you're talking about maybe a 10-minute break after it's done, and then you're going from one to the other. I mean, I don't know how you're gonna stick to that time schedule, but I guess we'll find out. And then the other thing is the no public comments I noticed in this. Is there a reason why you're asking the residents to offer questions, but then you're excluding them from public comments? I was just wondering the rationale of that.
Well, we were looking at it that, one, for time constraints, but also that the questions, if residents have a question, they can be more than, we'd be more than happy to accept them. They were accepted, and we thought it would be a better flow to the interview process. And after discussing it with John from Paragon, we felt more comfortable with doing it like this.
Yeah, I'm good, thank
Mr.
you.
Chair, yeah, so, just a couple things if I can. So, are we going to, is Paradigm gonna be kinda setting the table for us? Will they explain how many applicants we got to us in the community? This is not information we've been privy to just yet. I mean, no, we got the 4 finalists, but, I would imagine that Paradigm maybe would describe to folks, how we arrived at this number. Obviously, we're not gonna disclose anybody who's not a finalist, but in terms of numbers, was it 5, was it 20? That they were screened by our screening committee, we know that. And, that were the background checks done on them in terms of the reference checks, rather. not background. And so, that kind of stuff, I would imagine, needs to be explained to folks and us before the questioning can begin.
They will be discussing that. They are going to explain how they came across, how they came to the questions, or what they did for backgrounds, and it will be it'll be brought out at the beginning of the meeting when Paragon explains how the process developed and where we are now, how we got to today, or tomorrow, I should say.
Good, I think that's important. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of work that's gone into this leading up to this point, and we want to make sure that we set the table here and kind of just explain before that begins. So,
Mr. Bendel, Mr. Chair, if I could interrupt, I have the answer to your question, just to bring it out tonight, if that's okay. I know to go into further discussion, but I did ask that question of John from John Petron, and we received 17 candidates. The screening committee chose to interview 7 and 4 finalists. And of the 17 applications, I did ask, we had 2 female applicants, because I've been asked that quite a few times. So I wanted to have that information going into this.
and I'm sorry, thank you for that. Who was that from?
What was
John
it?
Petron.
John
John
Petron,
Petron,
yeah,
thank
from
you.
Paradigm.
Paradigm.
In terms of the community questions, you know, I'm glad that we're getting input. I'm concerned that notice was put out, and now the deadline, I believe, is 12 o'clock tomorrow. I saw the email come in late this afternoon with I believe it was 30-some-odd questions. I mean, so I don't want to sound disingenuous to anyone who's watching, who's been asked to input a question for us. You know, if that number was to increase, you know, we're looking at an hour interview. And how many questions can we got to cap it? I'm hoping to ask a question, maybe, perhaps, I would
Yeah.
imagine others.
I'm hoping all.
Sure.
Yeah, so so when we've asked people that, it's almost like I can appreciate the idea, but almost at the deadline should have been last week or the week before. That way we could decide as a board, like who will decide, when will this board decide as a group which questions are gonna be asked? If the deadline is tomorrow at 12.
Well, first, they've reviewed all the questions that were brought in, and they've incorporated them into their questions that they were going to ask. If there was a question from a resident that they wanted something to be either clarified, or they wanted just a question that was already going to be asked, they will have gone through all the questions ahead of time.
So this document that they gave us last Tuesday incorporates the questions that were asked this weekend?
It will. They will announce them.
Are we going to get, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, are we going to get a copy, I know we sent the documents today. Is that our
That's our-
expected
that's our
copy?
copy.
We won't get another full copy, okay?
No. Up until 12 o'clock tomorrow, correct?
Right.
Is that
And
the
then
time?
will be sent out if there's any additionals.
And-
So-
yes,
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I just have two more quick things if I can. So, and then what's the plan going forward? So we fast forward, the interviews are Tuesday and Wednesday. I wish they were both live on television, but it sounds like that ship has sailed.
Well, I
And
don't
we
think
know
it
we're
would be
gonna-
fair to the other candidates the next night, or the first candidates to be able to, the candidates from the second night to have full access on how they were, the candidates from the first night responded. So you would be giving them a disadvantage by, they would actually be able to be more prepared.
Mr. Chair, if I may, he's right. The other communities have done it this way. So the first night, candidates may receive a lot of questions from the board about a certain issue. So the second candidates could watch at home and say, oh, they're really interested in this. That was kind of the thinking on that, and I think the board was on board with doing it this way. And
Yeah.
WCTV was gracious enough to help us.
And I don't want to belabor the point, but in the past, again, the searches we did in 2018, 2019, all they simply did was turn off the online version, so you could watch from your living room here in Wilmington, and only if you were in a house in Wilmington. So the streaming would be turned off for anybody outside the community. but the residents would get to watch. That's what we did in the past. Doesn't sound like that was asked, so that's fine, you know. So my question is, Monday, leading up to Monday, people have watched the interviews, and now they want to give feedback. Obviously, at any day, at any time, they can reach out to us as their elected officials. But is there going to be anything else in terms of what we should expect? I would hope that perhaps there'll be some public comment before the vote
Yeah.
on Monday. And again, my point is, I want to make sure that people, you know, they can always email us, they can call us, our information is public, but I want to make sure that people get a chance to weigh in. It doesn't look like we have public comment on in the 2 meetings that are coming up, so therefore, I want to make sure that you'll commit to having that
On
for
Mondays,
next Monday.
Mondays nights, there will be public comments.
Okay. You know,
Now, would that be before the vote, Mr. Chair?
I believe it will be before the vote.
which I think is important, you know, and obviously if people have, you know, we've already got, we've got some, I'm gonna guess you've got some input from folks.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that will continue. Once the interviews are seen by the residents, then I think they'll have some more. They're gonna say, you know,
Right.
I really like this person, or I didn't like that person. So I think I can anticipate a lot of that
Yep.
over the next week or so. But not everybody is, you know, gonna be, either have time to pick up the phone or to email, so perhaps they wanna come down on Monday and voice their opinion, which I think is important.
Yeah. And Mr. Chair, off of that, if we're going to, I totally agree. I want to hear, you know, I want the public to come down in person and share their thoughts. But should we be voting on that same evening?
Yes. We should.
Because I'm thinking, this is just my thought process, and I'm not saying my mind cannot be, you know, won't be changed by, you know, somebody's comments or multiple, whatever. But I thought the point of us voting on Monday night was that we've individually, because we can't meet outside of the public, we're making our decision and then coming to vote. But if we're here, I would kind of like to hear from the public and kind of let that weigh in, you know, because maybe something, you know, maybe that could sway my vote or make me rethink. I don't know, just kind of thinking here. I suppose I could change my mind after I hear their comments.
Well, if we have public comments prior to us making an official vote,
Yeah,
you'll hear what other residents are saying. And at that time, if it sways the way you were going, or
suppose.
you're still staying the same, you'll have heard from the public on that.
How about the folks who emailed questions? Was there an automatic response? Did we respond to them and saying that, thank you for your input, but, you know,
Think the same.
we'll consider asking the question, or that you're just assuming that the question's gonna be asked verbatim? I haven't, full disclosure, I haven't read the questions. There were a lot of them, as I mentioned, that there were 30,
Print them out.
north of 30. Some of them were pretty lengthy. I mean, I didn't get so it was a lot of input, and I hope to read them all. But I don't want people thinking I spent all this time giving their input and they never asked my question. They told me you were gonna ask my question, now my question wasn't asked. So did we respond to them with a generic automatic reply? Is somebody?
We have not, Mr. Bendel. All due respect, you could technically get thousands of questions.
I agree.
And this board and the search screening committee and the community paradigm did a wonderful job to get you to this point. So there's a lot of information, obviously, that you've read their packets, the individuals, you read their packets. But we will send a reply email out tomorrow to the 4 or 5 that we did receive.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
just to go back, so that someone asked the town on Friday to send questions to the Wilmington Board of Selectmen for them to be asked this coming Tuesday and Wednesday. And we have been wanting the questions from Paradigm well in advance, so we could review them and look them over, suggest or make comment on it. So now we're not going to see these new incorporated questions from Paradigm, who's running the interview, because for whatever reason, someone okayed a Friday send out to the residents. And as Mr. Bendel said, good thought, but it should have been done probably 2 weeks prior to what it was done on Friday, so that we could see the questions that they're now going to change and ask. That's what I wanted, was the questions that Paradigm is asking. Now, we're not even gonna see it, we're gonna go into it blindly. I mean, the 9 questions that they've asked, if you read them, has about 4 questions attached to each question. And then you wanna throw on our questions, if we even have any, or comments, and now 30-plus other questions. I don't know why this wasn't discussed amongst the 5 of us in open session as to how to handle it, rather than someone making a unilateral decision to do that. But it's been done, and I hope the residents understand that the time that they spent in putting these questions together and the thought that they put into it, that their questions may not be asked because of the manner in which this was done. And I certainly would apologize to them for doing that, to these residents, that some of them, 2 or 3 people sent in 4 or 5 questions, and they didn't just, I mean, they gave thought to it, and I just think it was something that this board, or whoever did that, didn't think about.
Mr. Chair, since the consultants have to get those questions together ahead of them coming here, can they email us a copy of their final questions ahead of the meeting, so we at least don't get them cold?
We will ask them to, and they will.
Because I would much rather have it all in one document
Yep.
than having the questions that we have from them so far, and then cobbling in the 30-plus that we have that we got emailed to us today, just because I can just see us here, jumping around all these papers and stuff. It's just, and we won't be able to concentrate on what's going on as we're trying to look for questions. So if we could just get the same playbook that they're going to use tomorrow night ahead of the meeting, and hopefully, a few hours ahead. I know we have questions till 12, but at that point, I would assume they've already started working on a new document. So if maybe we can get it by, 2, 3 o'clock at the latest, that would be appreciative.
Contact them first thing in the morning.
Thank
And
you.
ask them to expedite it.
That would be wonderful.
I can send him an email tonight, Mr. Chair.
Tonight.
Thank you, Lou.
Anyone else? Moving on. Communications.
Mr. Chair, I sent a letter to Greg Phelps, the general manager at Reading Light Department. We had an issue at the north, and where they lost power, and during the day when the kids were in school, and they figured out it was not a Reading Light issue, it was our issue on the town, and Reading Light responded anyway and dug a trench, and I just wanted to send them a letter to thank them on behalf of the town of Wilmington and Wilmington Public Schools for the prompt response of Reading Light to the North Intermediate School in Wilmington on Monday, March 4th, 2024. The school occupied with students was without power due to an unknown cause. The timely response of a crew and quick diagnosis of the problem and its remedy are greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
The next one is a letter from Tom Saragusa. He is resigning from the Wilmington Zoning Board of Appeals. And then the following letter is the letter that I wrote to him acknowledging the receipt of his letter and is thanking him for his service on the board. Likewise, we received a letter from Jacqueline Santini. She also is resigning from the Board of Appeals effective April 30th. I'm sorry, Mr. Saragusa is effective the 19th of April. And I also sent her a letter thanking her for her service on the board. And some people don't realize that we are all volunteers that are on these board, they're all volunteers that are on the board, and they put a lot of work into it. And
Thank
some-
you.
Yeah, sometimes it goes unappreciated. The next letter is from Governor Healy, and this is they were pleased to announce under the administration of Governor Maura Healy and Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll, a total of $400 million for fiscal year '24 and fiscal year '25 was filed on the Mass DOT Chapter 90, and Wilmington's portion of that will be $782,667.31. Next communication is from the Central Massachusetts Mosquito Control, and they're letting us know that their overall budget increased by 5%, and Wilmington's portion increased by 2.45% to $76,688. Mr. Chair, that is it for communications.
Done 6. Let me get over here. We have the board to consider the appointment of Michael Morris.
Yes, sir. Board to consider the appointment of Michael Morris as the interim finance director and town accountant. As you know, Mr. Brian Perry left to go to Triton, and it's going to be a good move for him and his family, and I thank him for all the work that he's done and the amazing job he helped me out with this year during the budget season. And everybody knows Mr. Morris, and he's coming back. He was the prior accountant, and he's going to hit the ground running tomorrow morning. We have a meeting, and just asking for your blessing to appoint him as the interim temporary finance director / accountant.
Mr. Chair, I move to appoint Mr. Michael Morris as interim finance director, town
Sec-
accountant.
Second?
All those in favor? Approved.
Thank you. The next board to consider is from Khalid Hazim, Tony's Ice Cream, to obtain a hawk and pedal license to sell ice cream. And as you have, in your packet, you see he has been around for a while. He's done this for many times, and excuse me, wrong board to consider that. So we do have the approval, recommended approval from the Board of Health and the Wilmington Police Department.
We have a motion to accept.
I'll make a motion to accept.
Second.
All those in favor? So moved.
And the next request is for the Wilmington Town Common to be illuminated in blue during the month of April in observance of autism awareness. This is for many years, there has been a anonymous, for 10-plus years, an anonymous request from the requester who pays for the blue light, the gels on the common.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
All those in favor? Approved.
Next one, board to consider request from Hugh McNeil, Lieutenant, Wilmington Minutemen, to use Rotary Park for God bless you, for Liberty Pole dedication ceremony on Sunday, April 28, 2024, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And there are no conflicts with the time.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I just want a second for discussion, just so you guys know that, again, I'm the captain of the Wilmington Minutemen. The ceremony will be at 1 p.m. The reason for 10 to 3 is, so, so we could set up. So, and this will be open up to the public. We'll be sending out some invites for specific speakers and go forward from there. And this was the Liberty Pole that the board approved back in June,
Yeah.
I believe it was.
I believe there's a motion on the floor.
And second.
And seconded. All those in favor? Approved.
Thank you. Next one's request by Jeanette Quirk, Principal, Wilmington Middle School, to use the town common and gazebo on Thursday, June 13th, 2024, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. for the 8th grade moving on ceremony.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Approved.
The next one, Mr. Chair, I'm requesting that you table until next meeting. This is regarding the carnival. The application had to go through the 2-week process of posting, so we couldn't get it on this agenda. So I'm requesting that you table this until your 25th, the meeting on the 25th.
Very good. We will table it on.
Motion to table to the 25th.
Second.
All those in favor? So moved.
Next one's board to consider request of Samantha Prindiville, Drama Advisor, Wilmington High School Lamplighters Guild, to conduct a fundraising car wash on Sunday, July 21st, 2024, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Public Buildings Department. If you notice on the request, they requested the 4th of July parking lot. They were obviously told that will not be available. And she was also advised to contact the Masons regarding their time in case they're having an event there. And other than that, there's no conflicts with the date.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor? Approved.
Thank you. Next was board to consider request of Ryan Gendron, Principal, Wilmington High School, to use Town Common on Thursday, May 30th, 2024, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. for the senior barbecue.
Move to grant the request?
Second?
No conflicts? No?
Nope, no conflicts.
Okay, all those in favor? Approved.
And the next board to consider is to schedule your summer meetings. The proposed dates, July and August. As you know, Mr. Chair, in the past, the Board of Select Board meet one meeting in July and one in August. So Beverly graciously gave us some calendars to look at.
Mr. Chair, I am not available on August 12th, if I am reelected.
Any other conflicts? We'll,
Any other conflicts? So, anyone have any recommendations?
Say the 15th of July, if that's like the middle of the month?
No, it's Monday.
Yeah,
yeah, July 15th is.
it's a Monday, it's our, we meet on Mondays.
You said middle, I thought you said middle of the.
Middle of the month.
Sorry, yep.
And maybe the 19th of August? Kind of the middle of August?
Anybody have any conflict with those dates?
Not right now.
No?
Right now. So going 15th and 19th?
15th and 19th.
I won't be here.
As we get closer, we can,
You want to bring this one down?
No, that'll, well, under the new business,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Meetings.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the summer meeting days as July 15th and August 19th.
second?
All those in favor? So be it. Just get this squared away. Public comments.
State his name and address.
Hi, could I have your name and address, please?
Andrea Gillis. Should I be seated?
Whatever's comfortable for
Whatever you
you.
want to.
10 Birchwood Road. Hi, so this is my first town meeting. I'm happy to be here, and I appreciate all the hard work that you obviously put into all these meetings. I'm here about the candidates' interviews, and I had some questions, and many of those were answered during tonight's process of going through. It does occur to me that it seems a bit rushed, and I think that was also brought up here in the back and forth discourse about the process, but I'm sure you'll work it out before next week. I wasn't really certain about where to be able to send my questions, to be honest. I went through the town website, and I had heard other people and, other community members saying, well, you can submit questions. I didn't know where to. And I also didn't know where to view the candidates' packet. So other than their own put-together quick blurb from LinkedIn, to see their full packets, if that's something that a resident would have access to,
Yeah.
I just need that information. So,
Packets are not available to the public.
they are not?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's just.
It was just the names were
Okay.
released, yeah.
Okay, and then I understand that questions, although there seems to be an abundance of questions, but, you have that company that's gonna be organizing it, so it's their job to coordinate and collate all the
Yep.
questions and make sure that they all are represented in some way. So where do I send it?
Do you have it?
Selectmen at WilmingtonMA.gov.
Okay, great. So, although I've been thank you very much. I've been a Wilmington resident for 30 years, and I really have come to love this community. I'm originally from Woburn, so I am familiar through many friends that still reside there, both that are teachers, police officers, firefighters. And I became aware of one of the candidates that's being considered. So I do have concerns regarding that candidate, and I think I heard that there's gonna be a process for feedback after the interviews. I'm not sure what that's gonna look like, whether it's gonna be in person, or if the preference is to email this email address and share comments that way after the interviews?
I believe what you'll find is some people will email and some will be here to make comments at
Okay.
our meeting.
Okay, but no preference from this board as to how the comments come in, or,
I'd prefer them by email, that way I can digest them better.
yeah, I
But
need to
it's
digest them too,
whatever.
yeah.
I don't think I'll leave it up to the board to, how they want to proceed with it. But I
Okay.
just felt
Whatever
it
the
would be
residents wanna
emails
do.
and in person.
Okay.
No,
Thank
it's
Some
up-
people have actually dropped some off, hand
Yeah.
delivered to our office too.
Whatever's easiest for the residents is fine with us.
Are two residents representative of the amount of people that regularly come to these meetings? And do you expect more coming during the interview
Yes.
process?
We do.
Yes, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah.
All right, well, again, thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Appreciate
Have a
it.
nice day, evening.
Good evening.
State your name and address, please.
I'd like to remain anonymous. Before I speak, the gentle lady offered some comment relative to one of the candidates that's from her town. But none of you took the initiative to ask her what her concerns were. So before I speak, I would like to see if she would like to offer what her concerns are, since this is prior to the interviews. Would you like to do
McDonald,
that?
she said that she would be submitting her information to us.
And if I may,
Now you can go on to
yeah,
your,
I was just going to add, did mention it was about the teachers and the
Fire and
fire
police.
and police, and
But
we
she-
understand what that
But
means.
she didn't
Thank you.
specifically, none of you asked her to specifically identify what her concerns were.
This isn't the time or place.
sir.
She's going to submit any
I thought-
questions,
I-
but
I
we
respectfully
understand.
not the
disagree
time,
with
to
that.
pl- well,
Okay.
very good, that,
No, I appreciate you trying
Okay.
to pull me into that. However, if I had a specific question, I would have asked it in the moment, to which then I would have expected someone in the board to say, this is not the time. So knowing that there is a place for feedback, I'm happy to submit that way.
thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Before I offer my comments, can you tell us what the total amount of the warrants were tonight? Total dollar amount?
We're not, sir, you want it, you can get that.
You have them, right?
How can you vote on warrants if none of you know
I
what the
have it
amount
right
is?
here.
What's
I
the
have it right
total
here.
amount? Please.
Could you ask nicely? You don't need to snap at me.
Could you
The
pretty
total
please give me-
number for the warrants, 235, 235W, 2435T, 2435S, that totaled $5,032,958.38. Then the warrant for 2435, 2435W, 2435T totaled $1,563,066.71.
So what is the total, grand total of all of those?
I did not add those two together.
all right.
You're giving me a math problem every year,
Okay.
so it's 2 million and some dollars,
Okay,
2.1.
okay.
I'm sorry, 6.5 and change.
Okay, what I wanted to mention is the town of Newburyport has their warrants online where you can go through every single expenditure, every single dollar amount that was put forward to their select board for approval. And I would like to see one of you folks offer that as a motion so that this board can act on that to implement the same policy in the spirit of transparency. The other question I have is, I've gone through the agendas for last year. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I did not see any agenda item where the select board authorized the town manager to sign a contract with an environmental company for like $120,000. Is there anybody here that could identify a meeting where that took place?
I don't know what you're talking about, so I
No
can't
idea what
speak
you're
to it.
talking about.
The
very vague.
contaminated materials from the water department that get pulled out of the water got mixed with compost and got sent to a private farm, which was contrary to what has been happening before, where it went to a landfill in Peabody. We apparently have to pay for trucks to go to Holden. It's about a 3-hour round trip at least, when our trucks could have taken it to Peabody. So the simple question is this: as a member of the board, Mrs. Maselli,
Yes,
Can
Mr.
you-
McDonald.
can you tell the community if there was an agenda item where you, as a member of this board, acted, where you voted to authorize the town manager to sign a contract for $120,000 to North Shore Environmental to take care of that contamination? Because I went through the agendas and I couldn't find that.
Well, I don't have all the agendas in front of me, so it's very difficult. You ask questions thinking we know everything and everything that's happened in the last 10 years. I don't have that information in front of me, so I cannot answer that question.
That's a pretty significant,
Do you know how many, you see the agendas, there's a lot of stuff, so
do you,
I don't know.
do you
the
understand?
chair can look back and let you know the question, and I believe Mr. Somalia
Do you-
answered your question last week.
Do you understand the
I
state
understand
law
everything.
that
I'm moving on from this
requires?
question.
Already, you've already
Mr.
brought
De-
this up, sir.
I didn't
And-
bring this up. I did not bring up
You
the
brought up that
question
they
of-
were being
Mr.
dumped
De- you're
wrong
the, you're the
place.
chairman. You're the chairman.
That's right.
Did you vote on anything last year that
Don't
author?
recall.
That's a pretty
Sim-
important vote.
It
I
could have been in the
don't
budget.
recall, sir.
You don't recall. Can you get us that answer for next meeting?
We'll look into it, whether it'll be next meeting or not, I can't guarantee it.
And Mr. Chairman, are you aware that there is a state law that requires contracts to go out for public bid over a certain dollar amount?
Yes, I am, sir.
Okay, so a $120,000 contract is probably over that, correct?
I'll have to look into it.
Do you know the dollar amount?
It was budgeted, come on, it was budgeted.
It was budgeted, yeah.
DPW was budgeted, it's,
And what's kind of disturbing is that as I'm listening to Mr. Kara ask his questions and voice his concerns about the process, I don't know why the board isn't voting on the process. Why is the chairman dictating policy to the rest of the members rather than somebody make a motion? This is how we're going to do it. This is my recommendation, and take an up or down vote. I mean, to ask people to bring forth questions and to not be able to have those questions answered, I think is inappropriate. There are a lot of very brilliant people in town, a lot of professionals, people in human resources, people who are in management positions who would know the types of questions that were pertinent to ask of a candidate. And for you to not, for the people to put forth questions and not have them answered is kind of a little bit
Where
disturbing.
did you hear we're not going to allow these answers, sir?
Mr.
We
Car-
already
Mr.
discussed
Car-
it, and Mr. Carr, we've received the questions. They're gonna be put in the process by the consulting firm. And that's it, sir.
So Mr. Bendel's mentioned that he did not have a chance to read the questions yet. So there's a meeting tomorrow about interviews, and it just seems that you should be able to go through the questions from the residents of the community, identify legitimate, pertinent questions, not what somebody's favorite color is, but legitimate managerial questions, so that if there's a concern like the lady had tonight about a candidate, it can be vetted out. Because it sounds like you're gonna take the vote in just a few days.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to make a comment. As you know, we reached out to the community, we got residents from the community to form a committee to assist in this process. We're very grateful that we had the time and talent of that committee that helped us out. We also, they in turn hired a professional consulting firm to help not only that committee formulate their finalists, but helped us in the search as well. I mean, we may have different ways of how we wanted these interviews and this meetings and all that, but the bottom line is, we're here. And, you know, I'd like to commend both my board members, the chairman, and the temporary town manager for dealing with, you know, for working with the consultant and anybody that's involved in the process. I think that it's as public as we can make it. We all have received phone calls, email, I'm assuming anyway, I know I have. I've received phone calls, emails. You know, you're in shopping and somebody says, hey, you got a minute? And, you know, so we've been hearing the process, you know, we've been hearing the residents all along. We're gonna continue to hear the residents. You know, so I think, you know, I'll commend everybody involved in the process, that we've been as public as possible in this thing. And hopefully, you know, we got 4 candidates, hopefully we can come to a consensus, and by a week from Monday, we'll announce that we have a new town manager starting on board.
Thank you for that, Mr. West.
Thank
I
you for
didn't
your
hear the
comments.
salary for the town accountant. Did you, do you know what the
Just
salary's gonna be?
Mr. McDonald, can I just, to clarify one of Mr. West's comments, he said that the search committee hired the consultant, when in fact the search committee made a recommendation to the
excuse me.
Board of Selectmen who hired the consultant. I just want that.
And I actually, thank you for that, Mr. Carey. I actually think that was probably the most intelligent thing that the committee did, is offer that to the board, and that this committee, this board, actually hired somebody, because I was actually at many of those search committee meetings, and one committee member actually said that he didn't want his ignorance to get in the way of this process. Another one said that he's never experienced
You're off
this.
the agenda right now.
Okay,
Go
let me get back
the
to my
agenda.
town accountant question.
No,
The town
You can't-
accountant,
you
what's
can
the
make a-
salary?
it's not on the agenda tonight, sir, so we're
It
not
is
gonna
on the
be dis-
agenda. You're gonna be hiring the former town accountant who's collecting a retirement pension, and I have questions about setting a precedent with hiring somebody who's collecting a pension and then being a full-time employee, even if it's temporary. So
Yeah, Mr.
why was that not discussed?
Yeah, Mr. McDonald, it's not a full-time appointment. It's a temporary position as a
I understand that, but is he here full-time during that temporary time?
As a consultant.
No.
And yes, he is going to get paid, and as you know, because you know everything,
I wouldn't ask the
when
question if
you're
I
a
knew
reti-
everything.
When you're a retiree, you can work X amount of hours, make X amount of money.
How
So
many
we're
hours will he
using
be working,
what-
Mr. Smaglia?
20 hours?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can respond to that. Yeah, the law says that a retiree can go back to public service for up to 1,200 hours per calendar year and earn the difference between the salary from which they retired, right, and the pension that they're receiving. They can't earn above the salary. So it's as simple as that.
He can't earn above his previous salary when he
Correct.
retired?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
Right? It's the difference that, he can earn the difference in a 1,200-hour position.
Okay, and with regard to the search for the town manager, the search for the town accountant, people kind of mocked Craigslist, and it seemed like they mocked other places to actually advertise the position. We actually have people that are pretty much in our local area that were former town managers, and so why isn't there being a broader search? Why, I mean, I know people that hired people from Craigslist and they're terrific employees.
Broader search for what? We put it out for the town manager, we put it out for the assistant town manager, we put it out for the,
Where?
it's,
a lot of the standard.
MMA is a big way to put it out, Mr.
So you're pretty much limited to Massachusetts rather than other states, or? Is that, you know?
No. It,
It-
From
MMA
around
goes
the
out
world,
to all
Reed.
over the
Anybody can
country.
go into that.
Anybody can go in and find that.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the other question I had is, Mr. Semaglia mentioned that the state will be giving us over $782,000 for aid. And what is that number compared to what we received last year?
Don't know.
Don't have that figure at this time. We just brought,
I-
all we did was bring up what they've announced that we are getting, sir.
The reason why I'm asking the question is because I've heard reports that the state is incurring fees like over $250 million to house migrants.
Sir,
In-
no. I'm
So-
not gonna address these, sir.
I don't
This
need
is
you
not-
to address
this
it,
is
it's just
not-
a concern.
This is money that
Announcements?
I understand,
That
I
we
understand
have.
that it's coming
I
from
want
the
to
state.
thank you very much, Mr. McDonald, and I'm going to be moving on to announcements at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Just, Mr. Chair, if I can, one quick announcement as we're, it just dawned upon me that one of the first things that the search firm did when we hired them was put a survey out to the community to see what they would like to see in the next town manager, to which we got a good response, I believe. They
We
got a
did,
good
and
response.
if I may,
Yes,
also
just wanted
department
to
heads
add that
too.
because
They
that's
met with all
important.
department heads individual and some employees in town. So yes, they did.
And they also spoke to us individually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would imagine that Paradigm will kind of describe all
They will
that
be
tomorrow.
breaking everything down for us.
Because I think, I'll just conclude with this, I think that those type of important notes are important when, I anticipate a lot of people will be tuning in to watch these.
Right.
And they should feel good about the fact, about this process. I mean, I know I feel good, I would agree with the comments that were made just a few moments ago, that I think we've done this the right way up until this point. I hope we can finish it strong. And I'm really grateful for the screening committee, as I know all of you are. And the firm, sounds like they've done a great job. I'm looking forward to, I know they're not gonna give us some specifics, but I would imagine they would allude to the fact if somebody applied from far and wide, they would tell us that. But I think that people, when they tune in and hear from Paradigm, I think they'll feel really confident too.
And Mr. Chair,
Just remember that Paragon, with the, talk to the board individually. They asked for input from all departments, all department heads. They did put out a brochure,
survey.
a survey for residents to respond to on what they would be looking for in a new town manager. And we got a good response from that. And they've incorporated everything that, whether it's the board, department heads, or residents put in into their questions when they started their initial interviewing.
Mr. Chair, I just
And-
want to add that we just got the questions from the community a couple hours ago, so we have not had the opportunity to look at them yet, and questioning period goes until 12 o'clock tomorrow. So we will, I'm speaking for myself, but I know I can speak for my colleagues, we'll have the opportunity to review them all before then.
I hope.
Any other announcement?
Well, I think, since we're laying it all out there, so I think it's important to add too, that we got the 4 finalists on
Yes.
Tuesday.
Correct.
So it was
Same
hand-delivered
day it
to
was-
us Tuesday. In fact, I think I read it on the Apple before I opened the packet.
Yep,
But we received it just Tuesday, so not even a
Yep.
week ago.
yep.
Okay. You want to do this under new?
Yep.
New business?
New business
Now
is-
to new business.
Yep, items not reasonably anticipated by the chairman 48 hours in advance of this meeting. Mr. Chair, we received an email over the weekend. It says, "Dear Select Board, in keeping with a long-standing custom, I request the town beach at Silver Lake be used for the community sunrise service on Sunday, March 31st, 2024. The size is at 6:15 a.m. that day. People will begin gathering at 6 a.m., and I anticipate the service to be completed by 6:50. Participants will be invited back to Wilmington United Methodist Church for an Easter breakfast. The service is open to all and normally supported by the communities of Wilmington and Tewksbury. It will be publicized throughout the community. If you need additional information, consider reaching out sincerely Reverend Peter Hay. And the reason I asked you to put this on, Mr. Chair, is I know there is one more meeting, the 25th, before this, but I think they want to be able to advertise and get the word out for their breakfast, so if you wouldn't mind acting on this tonight.
Mr. Chairman,
Do I have,
I would make a motion that we grant the request.
do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? So,
Thank you.
important dates.
Mr. Chair, March 12th, Select Board, Town Hall, Room 9, 6 PM. That's tomorrow. March 13th, Select Board, Town Hall, Room 9, 6
That's the next
PM.
day.
That's the next day. March 18th, Select Board, Town Hall, Room 9, 6 PM. Is that 6 PM,
Oh, wait a minute.
the Monday?
Yeah, for
Okay,
Monday, yeah,
it's-
Monday
okay,
was
6
6
PM.
p.m.
March 19th is the Finance Committee, excuse me, Planning Board Public Hearing, Town Hall Auditorium, 7 PM. March 25th, Select Board, Town Hall, Room 9, 7 PM. April 17th, last day to register to vote in the annual town election, annual town meeting. That's for both. Town Clerk's office open until 5 PM that day. April 27th, annual town election, polls open 8 AM to 8 PM. And May 4th, annual town meeting, that's the big one, at the high school auditorium at 9 AM.
Thank you, Mr. Temporary Town Manager. I am now turning the mic over to Selectman Bendel for salute to service.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of the Board of Selectmen, tonight we are going to salute Mr. Donald Monroe, a Korean War Navy veteran who enlisted from right here in Wilmington and served from January 1952 until June of 1955 aboard the USS Strong. Among the many awards he received were the National Defense Service Medal, the Korean Service Medal with 1 star, and the United Nations Service Medal. Mr. Monroe remained in Wilmington after his service, where he raised his 3 children with his wife Ann. He began working at the Bedford VA in 1957, where he retired as the police chief in 1989. Unfortunately, Mr. Monroe just passed away at the end of February, so our condolences to his family, but tonight, we thank him for his service and we salute him.
Thank you. And just one last reminder that on March 12th, 13th, and 18th, the Select Board meetings will be at 6 PM. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
12th, 13th, not 18th.
Oh, did I say 18th?
Just the 12th
12th,
and 13th.
13th, and the 18th.
7 too, but it's,
Oh, that's the fine.
that's the vote.
Is that just the vote, or is there gonna be a meeting after that?
Yeah.
No, just the vote.
Okay.
Okay, just the vote on the 18th. Sorry. Apologies. I read it wrong.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Good night, and be safe.